The penultimate round of the season for stock cars typically takes the field to a place where there's bumping and banging, shifting and shuffling, usually at a short track. We got that out of the way last week at Martinsville, and now we're set to eliminate 4 of 8 remaining playoff drivers and establish our championship 4. This is the Area Elite Entertainment Cup Series playoff round 4 of 5 from Michigan International Speedway. High speeds, high intensity, and the second to last round of the 2022 season. Hi everybody, Kyle Heyer, joined by Hunter Sleppy. Hunter, welcome aboard. Getting set for 105 laps in our penultimate race of the season, where we lop off half of our remaining playoff competitors.
Yeah, after last week with Martinsville, got all the bumping and grinding out of the way. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw a little bit of that, but we're not going to see as much as we did last week at Martinsville, and hopefully not as many yellows, because that was nuts going through all those cautions. And with the lap count we have today, I don't think we're going to reach that number.
Yeah, we had our fair share of yellows last week, but set for some clean and green racing on the 2-mile oval here in Brooklyn, Michigan. Population, about 1,200 people. It's pretty nice around here. Not a lot of population density. Michigan Speedway constructed back in 1968, reprofiled back in 2012. Chip Ganassi used to race. His career ended here after an accident in 1984. Here's a look at the weather information today. It's 86 in the air. Track temp, though, 120 degrees. That is extremely, extremely hot, Hunter.
Yeah, it's going to make for some slick racing. Going to see cars sliding up all over the place in the turns. I've heard from some of the drivers that the fixed setup that they're running tonight is more on the tight side. So last week at Martinsville, it was on like the wrecking loose side of things, where if you tiptoe the car out a little too soon, you'd spin it out, and that's why we saw so many yellows last week. But tonight we're going to have a tight setup. Drivers are going to fight for control of their car to make the corner, and believe it or not, Kyle, we're actually going to see some shifting here tonight. I'm
really excited. That's another new concept to the stock car racing world here, at least recently. I think if you're an IndyCar fan, you'll know that the 6-speed transmissions they've got in those cars, you'll see quite a bit of shifting at a track like Michigan. That's the last time I was here on iRacing, was watching an Indy Elite Series race here at Michigan only a couple of months ago. But time to go stock car racing here tonight. Let's have a look at last week's event at Martinsville, Hunter. It was a messy one, but it was dramatic there, especially at the end.
Yeah, the end was quite chaotic, and it made for what we got for the playoff picture here coming up.
Through turns 3 and 4, 200 laps going up on the board. If this race goes green from start to finish, it's 1 hour of racing from Martinsville, the half-mile paperclip in Martinsville, Virginia. 200 laps starting now. Green flag flies, and we're racing at Martinsville.
More dominant in today's race, or the bottom, because it seems like 5 was struggling. We've got a caution out on the track.
All Irvin sideways. A couple other cars turned around. Ed Robertson is the other. 2 of the Ford Mustangs towards the back of the field. Turn back around. Caution on lap number 4 here at Martinsville. And again, playoff competitors are the blue ones on the side of the screen. Cameron Hearn didn't start the race. He's got damage. One of our playoff competitors here. Didn't see how this happened. But that car has got a lot of damage on the nose. So it gets off into turn 3 and spins and up into the barriers at the entrance to pit lane.
Wow.
I'll say. But he will drop in front of the 70 of Balacino. Whoa, spin behind the 88 Brad Slaughter. They get slammed by the 11 car of Jordan Martin. That's a big crash out there over by turn 2, Hunter. I'm amazed that Weishart's been able to stick around the outside so long and even make it look like he might. No, he turns and race straight into the wall. Big crash on the front straightaway, and playoff competitors involved. Wow.
Ryan Hartz is in it.
Turn 4 has been the trouble spot. Will it be again?
Oh, yep.
Garrett Grant this time. Oh, man.
Oh! They're still piling in. Cameron Hearn's in it.
Seiden Fiden as well. Thought it would happen a little bit later in the corner, so got the camera prepped for it, and it happened ahead of me here.
Jordan Martin is now the first car 1 lap down, so knowing Weishart's luck, we're about to have a caution.
Trouble, turn 3. The 5 is going to get turned and caution out.
What did I just say?
Wow.
Martin is the first car 1 lap down, and knowing Weishart's luck, caution was going to come out right on cue. I mean, literally, right on cue.
The Leo and Grant. The Leo just chucks it down. He locked up the tire, couldn't get it slowed, and sends the 5 for a loop. Here we go. 4 laps left here at Martinsville.
Oh, Nichols went early there in the middle of 3 and 4.
Johnston
Going
to try to get to the bumper. He's going to push him up the racetrack. Here he comes to the bottom.
Johnston on the bottom, Nichols on the outside, right behind is Hearn. And in the 3.
Oh, they're going to touch.
Into the 91, up the track they go. Here comes Cameron Hearn, 3 wide for the lead off of 4. Now they're dead even at the stripe. Hearn on the bottom, Johnston on the outside. 3 laps to go at Martinsville. Oh, and Nichols getting hit by Hartz from underneath as well for the 3rd spot. Cameron Hearn, though, powers into the lead. Johnston to the inside. They're going to make contact. Around goes Hearn. He's sideways in front of the field. The caution is back out at Martinsville.
Wow. What a last couple of laps. We are not done yet.
28 gets into the 91. They're door to door.
Well played
Johnston
there.
knows.
Honestly.
Yeah, well played. He knew that was his only shot.
Use him up a little bit there, and here comes the 67.
You're gonna want to keep this playing, because then these two are gonna go at it, and then Ryan Hartz gets into the 91 there.
And then
but watch the 91 of Jake Nichols. Look, he was sending it for that 28 of Johnston, and guess what? The 28's in the lead, the 91 is in second, so we might see a little reverse retaliation there for Nick Johnston, I feel like, coming up on this restart.
Yeah, this is all a little bit of contact there. What was that all about?
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's James Shanwolf in the 31. I don't know if that's attaboy or what are you doing?
Oh, the 28's on pit lane. Don't know what's up with that. Drops out of the top spot. That changes everything. Jake Nichols back to the lead.
Oh, the 28 was given the EOL for the caution.
Well, that's...
Oh, my goodness.
Well, that's why they have those penalties, to not incentivize.
Great restart from the 91 of Nichols. The 3 of Hartz, though, looking for that second spot. They're crashing. Caution out. Race is over. Jake Nichols is going to be your winner.
Adam Capps and the 28 of Johnston tangling on the front straight. And just like that, in an anticlimactic ending, the race is over. Wow! There was more to this than meets the eye.
You know what? Shane Wolf gave the 28 a bump after the caution came out, and I think that was the reason for the caution. Look, Shane Wolf's just going to get right into the 28 and turn him.
Yeah, again, teammates. Wow, then the 55 piles in there. Not a lot of people happy with Johnston. You know, I'm a little bit surprised because this is Martinsville, Hunter. That was the only time we really saw anybody dump anybody all night long, and clearly they weren't willing to take that, huh?
I'm still confused as to why Shane Wolf was upset at Nick Johnston.
Well, it earned the 31 a disqualification as well, so that will not end the way that he needed it to. Jake Nichols, though, I mean, it didn't happen the way I thought it was going to happen, but he gets it done. Back live here for round 4 of 5 in the Area Elite Entertainment Cup Series playoffs, and qualifying has just begun. We're going to head down to the racetrack and get things underway. But for our chase drivers, our playoff drivers, I should say, there are 8 of them left coming into the night. There will only be 4 as we leave. Here's a look at the playoff standings coming in, Hunter, and Jake Nichols is clear. He's locked Scalia, Weishart, and DeLeo. They're currently in, but Hart, Slaughter, Hearn, and Johnston are out. Johnston's not here, so really it's just Hart, Slaughter, and Hearn fighting to get their way back above that cut line.
Yeah, Nick Johnston suspended indefinitely by area for violating section 4.1 of the rule books, and with him being suspended indefinitely, he's out for the next 2 races, including the night, so he's effectively eliminated from the playoffs. Cameron Hearn, Slaughter, Ryan Hartz, it's going to be close between those guys, and I'd say Dom DeLeo. So really, you'd rather be either, well, Jake Nichols already locked in, but you'd rather be Skyler or Weishart. But even Weishart's close. But anyone that's outside this top 4 can win, and they're locked in. And we saw it last season over in Area iRacing. Tyler Hallman, he entered 8th in the point standings heading into Michigan, came through and won and locked himself into the championship 4. So it's happened before where a driver that's outside the cutoff line wins and then is in. And talking about that driver in 4th, Dom DeLeo, last season in ARCA series over in the Area, he made a late pass going into turn 1 on the last lap underneath James Shanewolf, and then he locked himself into the postseason and just kicked off a spectacular run to the championship 4 in that series. But we'll see what he can do tonight. as we look aboard the 33 butt kicker of David Weishart, currently quickest out of these 5 or so drivers.
A note about earlier in the season, Weishart and Scalia scored a top 10 at Fontana, the only other 2-mile track we've done this season, and they're above the cut line, so that bodes well for their chances tonight. Weishart goes a little bit quicker by 0.02 on his second lap and puts him up to the top of the board. Jake Nichols, who's already locked, was second quick, now third, as James Scalia goes to the top of the board on his second lap of qualifying.
Yeah, Skyler's really kicked his playoffs off quite nicely. He's really kicked into that championship mode where he's won 2 of the 3 playoff races, and I say 2 of the 3 because that man right there won the most recent one last week at Martinsville, from Jake Nichols. So he's kind of just cruising for this race, but that driver right there needing to be number 1, and he is currently quickest with 7 minutes left in qualifying, presented by the Cash That Podcast. Fans, be sure to check out the Cash That Podcast on Spotify. It's a sports betting podcast with Joe Delara and producer Corey as they provide their insight in the world of sports gambling. And after this past weekend over on the NASCAR Cup Series side of things, a lot of bets coming out after the finish of Bubba Wallace either being a bet inside the top 5 or the top Toyota. People won some big money off those bets. And we'll tune in to the next episode of the Cash That Podcast and see what Joe Delara and producer Corey have to say for the NFL. NFL's coming up. Still got baseball going on. Basketball's going to be coming up soon. Make sure to check out the Cash That Podcast and get their insight on sports gambling.
Dominic DeLeo decides to bail out on that opening lap for his qualifying run. Forrest Smith kicks off his second lap. Ryan Hart's jumped to the top of the board a moment ago. Then Scalia, Nichols, Ed Robertson, Cameron Hearn are the rest of your top 5. Brad Slaughter Jr. across the line, 10th. On his first lap, Dwayne Culberson just picked up to 7th in the number 81, and Ryan Swan now coming down the back straightaway in the number 1 car.
Yeah, Ryan did not have the race he wanted to last week at Martinsville. Got caught up in a couple of cautions, but looking for a nice rebound here. Going to be almost wide open. They are going to have to brake throughout the turns, and as we mentioned, they're going to have to downshift. They're going to have to go from 5th to 4th and then back to 5th on the straightaways. 13th quickest, actually 14th quickest for number 1.
Yeah, watching Ryan Swan's on board, he stays in gear number 5. But others might be shifting to try to find some pace. Here's Swerve and Irvin was right on board with the number 48 and see what he does.
It looks like he's not shifting either, staying in 5th gear down the back and into 3 and 4.
Running the high line through 3 and 4, trying to build up some momentum for the start of his second lap, way up into the marbles. That was an issue last week in Martinsville. I don't think it'll be a big deal here this week at Michigan.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we'll see anyone run all the way up near the wall. That one was a 40.4. That's going to be 19th quickest as looks like Swan stays 13th. Paul Irvin looks like he did not improve on that lap. But one driver who did improve, Dominic DeLeo, to the top of the charts. I mentioned he won last season in ARCA, so he knows his way around Michigan, and he's going to try and replicate that in the Cup car.
What a lap, a 39.435. That's a full 200ths quicker than Ryan Hart's, who still is second in the number 3. Corbin Irvin should be coming around here again as well, but DeLeo finishing up his second lap. We've seen drivers pick up on lap number 2. We'll see if he can go faster. That time of 39.459, a little bit slower. And looks like Irvin went 14th quickest. Matthew Robinson's on track. He's starting his second lap now, but lap 1, actually that was only lap 1 that he's starting. So this is the first of the couple that he'll have a chance to qualify with.
Yeah, Robinson also did not have a good race last week in Martinsville. Just got caught up in, now he just scraped the wall, so that lap's going to get a race, but did not have a good race last week in Martinsville. Got caught up in wrecks that really weren't any of his wrongdoing. He was just wrong place at the wrong time. And here's the 77 of Jacob Bell coming out of pit road, getting ready to start his warm-up lap.
Yeah, number 77, Lodgebox Chevrolet heads off into turn 3. Kickoff his qualifying effort here. 3 minutes left in qualifying, and 19 of the 22 cars that are here tonight have already laid down times. Alan Ballacino in the number 70 is currently 19th. Here's Jacob Bell starting his lap. Matthew Robinson heads up onto the back straight, coming around for his final lap.
Yeah, he messed up that first one, and looking to see if he can get out of 3 and 4 here clean. Hopefully he got through 1 and 2 fine, and that lap he ran was a 39.7. That would have been good enough for about 13th or so on the board. We'll see what this lap is here.
39.634. That's good enough for 11th. Not a bad lap. And Jacob Bell through turn 3 and 4. Coming around for his first lap. See if he can jump up into the top 10. Quick on his opening lap. He'll get one more go at it here. Tyler Nichols, the only driver that hasn't put a time in the board. And it sounds like the 70 and the 84, so Ballacino is one of them. And the 84 is the other. That is, car is that? That's Forrest Smith. They spun on their second lap, and they would get disqualified for qualifying scrutiny issues through iRacing, so you got to make sure that you're not spinning around. It's basically preventing drivers from cheating on their out laps, but obviously that wasn't the situation. They just kind of got caught by the system there. Jacob Bell up to 15th place, and connection issue for Ryan Hartz. That could be a big problem here as he tries to stay in the playoffs.
Yeah, this is just happening now. He can join back into the session, but with him being outside of the cutoff, and not only that, at the moment, starting second, still a minute left to go in qualifying, but it seems like that 3 car will start second, but he's 6 points out. He needs to race tonight if he wants to have a shot at trying to make it into the championship race next week in Vegas. So hopefully Ryan Hartz can connect back to the server before this race goes green.
Well, he's not going to have a ton of time. He'll have about 3 minutes as it stands right now to get back into the server and go racing tonight. Jake Nichols just getting some extra practice laps here. 22 drivers have joined us here tonight for a 105-lap, 210-mile race for the Area Elite Entertainment Cup Series playoffs. Again, I'm Kyle Heyer, joined by Hunter Sleppy as we get our final 4 gridded up for next week's finale at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. That will conclude our season here in the Area Elite Entertainment Cup Series. So that's coming up, but tonight, Michigan, high speed. You mentioned the shifting, Hunter. Anytime we talk about shifting at a speedway, I always get worried about drivers rev matching properly because you can massively upset the drivetrain if you rev match a little bit wrong.
Yeah, it can only be a recipe for disaster at a track like Michigan. Fast speed, especially in the middle of the corner, where we're going to see 2 wide, sometimes 3 wide, hopefully not 6 wide like we saw yesterday at the, the Indy Road Course, but we'll see those moves being made throughout the day, and we'll get the starting lineup here in just a moment.
All right, time to go through our starting lineup here, our starting grid for today's 210-mile race. Down to the racetrack, and on row number 1, it's going to be Dominic DeLeo in the number 22, and assuming he can get back, which it looks like he has, Ryan Hartz will line up alongside the 22 on that front row.
It's a good sight for all the Ryan Hartz fans out there. Right next to him in row 2, going to be in 3rd, James Skyler in the 7, and Jake Nichols in the 91. He's already locked in, so he's just going to stroll off in the 4th position.
Starting in row number 3 on the inside is the number 64 of Ed Robertson, and beside him in the number 67 Ford, Cameron Hearn.
And then in row 4, David Weishart going to roll off 7th in the 33, and to his outside, Chris Sinefine in the 45 going to roll off 8th.
Row 5, starting 9th, is the number 88 of Brad Slaughter Jr., and right beside him, the number 81 of Dwayne Culberson.
Row 6, Matthew Robinson going to roll off 11th, and rolling off 12th is the 5 of Garrett Grant. Heard a lot of praise about Garrett from David Weishart in practice. Said he's got a nice long-run car, so we'll see if that carries over into tonight's race.
Starting behind them in row number 7, Mark Patterson in the number 51, and Ryan Swan in the number 1 car. He rolls off 14th.
There we go. And rolling off 15th in row number 8, Jacob Bell. And alongside him, Swerve and Irvin. Paul Irvin going to roll off 16th in the 48 car.
Starting in 17th, the number 12 of Rafe Slate, and Forrest Smith in the 84. He was supposed to start 18th. He will start, I believe, tail of the field in that car.
Rolling off 19th is teammate Gary Lewis in the 69, and next to him is Jordan Martin in the 11, going to roll off 20th.
21st place, Alan Ballacino in the number 70. Tyler Nichols starts 22nd in the number 79. That's your starting grid here for today's race. Here's a quick look at our race analysis. This will be a 105-lap race, just about 210 miles. And as drivers get prepared for the green flag, we've got 22 of them, altitude about 1,000 feet up here in Brooklyn, Michigan. So cars head down the back straightaway now, getting set for the start. One last look at our weather information for this one. Again, hot racetrack, 86 degrees Fahrenheit, 117. The track is repaved only about a decade ago, so it's still got a lot of dark color to it. It's going to absorb a lot of that solar energy, and it's going to remain hot throughout the day. It'll rubber up pretty nicely by the midway point of this race. This race, if it goes green from start to finish, will be about 1 hour and 9 minutes. After Martinsville last week, green flag racing is on the minds of every driver here in the field. Dominic DeLeo in the number 22 is one of our playoff drivers. There are 7 others with him trying to vie for 4 spots in the Area Elite Entertainment Cup Series playoffs. 105 laps going racing here at Michigan. The field racked up 11 rows deep. Coming to the green flag this time. Flag in the hands of the starter. And we're racing at Michigan. Green flag flies. For the lead into turn 3, here comes the 3 of Ryan Hartz. Dominic DeLeo beat him in qualifying, but the 3 was mighty fast as well. He goes to the top spot as they exit turn 4 to finish up lap 1.
Going to be a bonus point for Ryan Hartz coming through to lead lap 1. DeLeo, though, getting the draft off of the 3 as the field snakes their way down the front stretch. Here's DeLeo looking to the outside, heading into turn 1.
Real good tight racing up for the top spot so far. Seidenfein and Nichols trading spots there. Seidenfein up to 4th in the number 45. Just behind them, Ed Robertson slipped a couple spots in the 64 car. Brad Slaughter Jr. still remains 9th. Everyone else single filing out now as they head down the back straight. That's a 77, a Jacob Bell in line to the outside of Forrest Smith in that 84, up to 15th place.
Some door-to-door spots going on back here between Robinson and Jacob Bell.
Scalia
Here's
on the
Cameron Hearn. Oh, that's actually Scalia. Yeah, I'm still getting confused. Similar colors, different driver though.
Yeah, and the 7 car drops to the inside of DeLeo. For second place through the middle of 1 and 2, and Seidenfein with a great run at the exit of turn 2. Where does he go? What does he do with it? He'll fall in line behind the 7 for now.
Already up 4 spots from the initial start. I was going to say Robertson is the highest qualifier of those not running in the playoffs, and he won at Auto Club, so we'll see if this track is to his liking, although it is lap 3. Still plenty of racing left.
He dropped back early in the race, the first couple laps, and wasn't off to a great start, but he knows how to get things done here. Might be saving some tire as well. Tires didn't end up being a huge factor at Martinsville because we didn't get a lot of green flag running. I have a feeling they're going to matter a little bit more this week with the high speeds and high corner loads we have on these. Look at Scalia sliding in front of DeLeo on the exit of turn 2. Seidenfein now on the outside through turns 3 and 4, using the multiple grooves available to you here at Michigan. I think kind of the middle of the road is probably the preferred area to be, Hunter, but you can make different lines work depending on how far you're willing to send the car into the corner.
Yeah, it seems like 45 Seidenfein's got a nice handling car the way he wants it to be, as DeLeo now looking to the inside for that position. He's probably hoping for the 7 that he can get around the 3 of Hartz, because that, if this continues, Hartz would be in and DeLeo would actually be out.
Yeah, the points picture is something we'll have to follow along all day long. Look at this mess behind him. Ryan Swan in the number 1. Dwayne Culberson is in the mix, but wow, Seidenfein really high in 3 and 4. He went backwards. Weishart takes 4th place away.
Yeah, I'm not sure if anyone can try and get a good enough run off that corner and propel them down the front stretch if they're going to lose spots.
Hart's building, I would call it a little bit of a lead. It was about a car length. It's dwindling, though. Skyler got a really solid run down the backstretch. You see DeLeo closing it back up as well. That slipstream, that draft seems fairly strong. The 3 tried to defend, but he can't do it. The 7 to the inside in turn 3.
Going to wash up the track there, including the 22 of DeLeo. Here's Weishart down to the inside, looking for third.
On board with your race leader. Ryan Hartz, who started in second, almost missed the start of this race because of an internet disconnection. You have to wonder, is that going to be something that is a problem for him tonight? You hope it isn't, but it certainly could come back to bite him later in this race. He leads the way out of turn 2.
Yeah, his teammate Ryan Swan had that same thing happen at Nashville, and he was close to making the playoffs on points. Disconnected there and just barely missed it after Talladega. Gut-wrenching for the one. Hopefully it doesn't happen to the 3 of Hearts as we look at a replay here.
Yeah, just watch the 67 of Hearn. I think it was Seidenfeld that got a little slow out of turn 2. Watch this again. It's a little slow. Big moment there. The 67 dives to the inside, picks up a spot, and as did the 88 of Brad Slaughter Jr. But a big moment there for Seidenfeld, and he dropped a handful of spots back to 8th.
Yep, all 7 playoff drivers are inside the top 7, so this just shows.
Oh, wow, big hit at the corner exit. The 81 of Culberson in the wall as well. I think, was that the 1 of Swan? Yes.
It was. Yep, right in front of the 81 of Culberson.
He got in the wall pretty hard at the exit at turn 2. Bam, and then the 81 followed him into it. But we've seen these cars be able to take pretty sizable hits and not massively affect their performance, so I guess their fingers are crossed with the one car going backwards now.
He might have to bring that car down pit road. That was a hard hit for not only him, but for Culberson as well.
You watch the 48. Irvin getting busy there with the hands, trying to keep the car to the inside. Back up in 4th place, Jake Nichols in the 91. Fending off DeLeo, who slides in front of Cameron Hearn. Was there contact there?
There was. It was slight.
And now we're starting to see this kind of turn into, dare I say, like old-style plate racing, where it's mostly single file, but you can do double file for a bit. You have to slam yourself back in line to make sure you don't let the train go by you.
This will kind of give us a preview of what the real-life Cup Series will race, because Cup cars haven't been here over the next gen, and they're going to Michigan this week. So this is almost like probably a preview of what we'll see for real-life racing. And if it is, boy, this is going to be a blast. 70
cars up a whole bunch of spots. Started 21st, up to 12th. So Ballacino moving forward right now. Has the 11 of Jordan Martin right behind him, as well as Jacob Bell in the number 77, and Ryan Swan nursing that damaged right side.
Big old pack back here behind the top 7 or so, with some cars spaced out. So there it is, all the playoff drivers, 1st through 7th in this single file pack.
And beginning to have a little bit of a breakaway here. It's funny how that works. You know, the cream rises to the top, as it always does. But they're not in the order that you might have expected them. Again, Hart's below the cut line coming into the night. He is fending off 6 other hungry drivers. Of course, Nichols in the 91 is good to go, but everyone else is fighting for what they can. Here comes the 91, by the way, to the inside. Cameron Hearn drops to the inside underneath Weishart. And Brad Slaughter Jr. did not have the best of weeks last week. Fought back for it, but had some damage early in the race that he had to deal with for the rest of the night.
Yeah, very early on, getting T-boned by Jordan Martin in the 11, but was able to pull through and finish that race. But he's 7 points outside of cutoff. So, I mean, he's running where he needs to be. It's just all the other playoff drivers are in front of him.
Yeah, and again, the points numbers, you know, it's not 1 point and 2 point. It's 6, 7, 8, 9 sort of deal. So you have to beat these guys by a handful of positions to really make a dent in that points position. So for a guy like Brad Slaughter, if everyone finishes like this, even if he moves up a couple of spots, it might not be enough for him.
As we see door-to-door, Jake Nichols once again moving towards the front. He's got Scioli and Weishart with Hearn on the outside. It's just the 91 of Nichols on the inside.
Yeah, Nichols, again, with himself being locked in, he doesn't really have to worry about a whole lot tonight. He can race not recklessly, but aggressively and not really have anything on the line. The others around him, though, have to be cautious. That's an interesting scenario to be in.
Yeah, especially right there with Weishart and Hearn. If any of those guys get too close, or if he gets too close to any of those guys and there's contact, it could end both of their nights, and don't want to see that. As we move a little further back here, Paul Irvin, Jacob Bell, door-to-door for the 13th spot.
Getting pretty racy back here, I'll say that. Jacob Bell swerving around a little bit behind Irvin. 34, Matthew Robinson. We documented his starting position of 11th, and he's slid back at a half dozen spots.
This racing is similar to what we saw at Auto Club. There'd be some question marks for tonight, heading into tonight and heading into Cup for next week, if this is going to race like Auto Club or if it's going to race like a super speedway because it's more banked. I don't really know if it's racing like Atlanta, but it feels like it. Got some pack racing and definitely off throttle time. But this has been an interesting one so far.
Yeah, and keeping an eye on the lap times and tire fall off. We're about 2 seconds off of where we were when we dropped the green flag. That is very slow in comparison. So we're still seeing a lot of tire fall off, which is good news for people that are going to try to get a tire advantage a little bit later in this race. But these are long laps here. You have to start figuring out your fuel mileage, your fuel strategy, because this race is pretty long distance-wise. You're not really going to have an opportunity to just take tires willy-nilly. You got those sets. You have to be cautious of them. I wouldn't take a set necessarily this early in the race, knowing that there might be some cautions and restarts later in the night that I might want them for. So keep that in mind, tire and fuel strategy. Big bumps there on the apron that Cameron Hearn and others just slammed over. We got a battle for the lead, though. Here comes Scalia.
Scalia down on the bottom, was not going to say no. Got to slide up, though. Still on the quarter panel of the three. They're going to be side-by-side down the backstretch, and looks like they got, no, they're not single file behind. Hearn to the inside of Weishart for third, so door-to-door for the first four spots.
Into turn 3 now. Scalia, shorter way around. Hartz, a little bit longer distance, can keep it in the throttle a bit more, and Hearn is going to clear Weishart and sees the battle ahead of him. Which line does he pick? Picks the 3 car, the outside line. Maybe he's going to try to go for the middle here as we battle down the front straight. Oh, he thought about it. To the outside.
I think he thought about making it 3 wide, but Hart's got to send that in, try and slide up in front of the 67. Here comes Skyler, going to have a nice run off the corner. Hearn still looking to the inside, though, down the back.
Wow, what a drive the last lap and a half for the 67 at Cameron Hearn. He's going to pull even with the 3 of Hart's into turn 3. And Scalia now is the one spectating all this as Hearn clears Hart's. Hart's turns down the racetrack, so does Scalia, and Ryan can't get the 3 in between those 2 Ford Mustangs.
Nah, Ryan was letting the 67 in, going to try and cross him over, but Skyler was down there and he had to back off, and it might cost him second.
Great battling up front here from Michigan for the Area Elite Entertainment Cup Series playoffs. All 7 playoff competitors in the mix right now up in the front, but they are dragging some others into it. Chris Seidenfeiden is back after his slide backwards, and he's brought Garrett Grant with him as well. Remember his situation a couple of weeks ago that led to him not making it to the playoffs. I'm sure he'd like to get himself a victory here tonight. Dominic DeLeo, the pole sitter, still kind of dropping back slowly but surely here.
Yeah, he's got the smallest gap to the cutoff at +6, so taking it easy for now. Knows he doesn't have to push the issue too much. Probably won't need to unless something is amiss for that 22 car. But yeah, you mentioned it, Seidenfeiden and Garrett Grant, the 2 non-playoff drivers heading into this pack full of playoff drivers.
Look at the lead that Cameron Hearn has established now. I wonder if he was able to save a little bit of tire the last couple of laps, because Hartz has dropped about 0.3 of a second off, and I know it doesn't look like much, but that's the largest lead we've had so far. Look at DeLeo to the inside now of the 7.
Boy, still door-to-door, and I feel like if there's going to be a move for the win, it's probably going to have to come to that move. And similar to what DeLeo did to get his ARCA win here last season. But it's looking like you're just going to have to send it on the bottom.
Yeah, you know, it's an interesting topic because while it has a little bit of a plate racing tendency, you certainly don't have the flexibility that you have at a place like Daytona or Talladega where you can slingshot a move and just be done with it. It takes a couple laps. Seidenfeiten in the wall. The 45 bounced off it hard at the exit of 2.
Knew that was coming. It was carrying a little too much speed over there in turn 2 and just carried him into the wall. Slaughter now behind this with Garrett Graham.
Yeah, but as I was saying, like, I don't think you can just make up a move on the spot. It's going to take a couple of laps to plan out and execute a move, and it kind of assumes that you're good enough to place your car and you have the tires good enough to place your car exactly where you need it. And we saw Cameron Hearn execute that very, very well, but no one else has really been able to do that much in that short of a time.
Surprised we haven't seen a caution yet. This is already an improvement from last week.
I'll say. Yeah, so far, race recap, 85 laps remaining, 3 different leaders, only 1 lead change, though. I don't even know how it's possible.
Well, I start looking to the inside for that second spot from the 3 of hearts. We're near the halfway point of the fuel run. We're looking at around 45 to 48 laps, and these guys are going to try to get it into 2 stops. We'll see if some might even try to do it in 1. And I feel like the only driver that might try to do that is Jake Nichols.
Good battles here for second place, but it's letting Hearn scoot away. His lead is now at about 3.5 tenths of a second as Weishart and Hartz do battle door-to-door down the backstretch. All 3s in that shot. Add the 7 of Scalia into the mix. Look in the mirror. That's such a great shot. See the 91 on the very top of your screen? And then the 22 of D'Elia right behind.
Yeah, super tight racing here in turn 4. Now down the front stretch. Still door-to-door for second and for the moment 4th. Nichols going to get clear of Scalia as these guys try to get single filed and try to regain ground lost after the 67 of Hearn's taking the lead. It's kind of put a big old gap in between the 2. Although it's not much, it's been a big gap.
And you're at, oh, look at the 33, big slide on a turn 2. He gathers it up, but that will open the door for Nichols. Look at the run. The 91 gets down the back straightaway. He's going to take it all the way to the bumper of the 3. Weishart slots ahead of D'Elia. That opens the door for Scalia to the outside now, trying to build a run here. Good battle for 5th place. The 7 car wants it.
Yeah, this track is an outside dominant track, but from tonight, it seems like you can make the inside work if you have some drafting help on the inside, but if you're just down there by yourself, you're going to be falling to the back as Hartz tried to get clear of Jake Nichols. Nichols can have the run on the outside, see if Hartz can stay door-to-door with him down the back.
Yeah, Nichols tried to side draft him there, and that was interesting to watch the efficacy. It seemed like it worked pretty well, and he clears the 3 off of 2. Wow, Seidenfeiten almost knocked the fence down there at the exit of 2, so that's a problem for the 45 that continues to be a problem. Looking back a little deeper in the field, we're kind of single filed out. Back this far, there's Rafe Slate in the number 12, Jordan Martin just outside the top 10. But again, all 7 playoff drivers have kind of resorted themselves once more in those top 7 spots as we hit lap 25.
Nichols has caught up to the bumper of Cameron Hearn. Now he knows that Hearn, if he wins, he's in. And he's -9 to the cutoff line, so he's basically in a must-win situation with how this race is going. But if he can get around him and eliminate him, that's going to make his championship run a little more easier.
Well, it's starting off just right for the 67, but the 91 is coming, and he's got nothing to lose here. So there's 2 thoughts there. One, he could race without really any fear of crashing, so he can kind of be pretty aggressive. Or 2, he can kind of be a little more reserved. He doesn't have to race up here and kind of be in the mix. But at this stage, I think Nichols is looking pretty racy, and he's caught Cameron Hearn, and he's going to look for the lead here, I think. He's going to turn down to the inside.
Going to try and get a run, see if he'll have any help. The 3 of Hartz is behind, 33 of Weishart behind as well. Here comes Nichols on the bottom.
Yeah, I think Hearn had to lift. It was a little tight through turn 2. Opens the door for the 91, and he goes through, and now Hartz wants it back. And now it's a bit of a 4-car breakaway. Scalia and D'Elia have fallen off the train.
Hartz couldn't quite do it. He'll slide back in line. Hearn going to try and get a run on the bottom. He's got the 3 and the 33 with him. Wow, Nichols just led that lap, but Hearn's going to lead it going into 1.
Side by side into turn 1 at 185 plus miles an hour. The 67 trying to hang on He's going to clear the 91 and slide up the road, but Nichols with the run is going to go back to the inside. Solar Flare Racing. Here comes Nichols back to the bottom.
Cross him over there out of 2. We'll see if Hearn's going to put up a fight. No, looks like he'll let him go. See if we can try and cross him over to get that run down the front stretch.
What great racing we're having here. All green and almost 30 laps in at this stage and battling for the top spot for the playoff picture. Hearn takes a swipe once more. Garrett Grant slots into 7th in the background, puts Brad Slaughter Jr. back a spot, and Ballacino now wants a position as well, and Seidenfeiden continues to fall. Don't see a lot of damage on this 45, but you have to know it's hurting him.
Car looking a little hurt too. He's down to 9th. Slaughter needs something to get himself back in this race.
Jacob Bell and Jordan Martin for 13th, move the 77 up 1. Matthew Robinson just behind. Chevy Ford, 13th, 14th, 15th. Now we'll have to wonder if that damage is causing the 45 stripe. It certainly has hurt the one of Ryan Swan. Forrest Smith, by the way, has retired his car. He's 6 laps down at this stage and out of the race. Ryan Swan is back about second clear of the rest of the field. This car is hurting badly, and I think the 45 is in the same boat right now.
Yeah, those were both hard hits for the 45, the 1, the 81 got in the wall. Steinfein's got in the wall a couple of times, but that one hit from Ryan Swan, that really damaged his car. And he's trying to muster what he can so he doesn't lose too many laps. He's hoping for a caution so he can take the time to fix it under there, because green flag pit stops, man, you don't know if that's terminal damage, like required repair, or just optional repair.
Jordan Martin is downshifting now to 4th gear as Bell really tight out of turn 2. And he's going to lose 2 spots here in one fell swoop. But up front, I'm curious if the leaders are doing the same. Let's ride on board here with Jake Nichols. See, he's in 4th gear. And about 180 pop right into 5th. So they are shifting now. Seems on fresh tires, Hunter, you can keep it in 5th all the way around. Once you burn the tires up, though, you got to drop it to 4th to get the torque up in mid-corner.
Yeah, funny, Jordan Martin said, "Oh, I'm not going to shift at all tonight. I don't care what everyone else is doing," and now he's shifting.
Looks like it's getting a little trickier to pass. That was big moment for the 33 of Weishart. He got really tight out of turn 2 behind Hartz, but he will take that opportunity to sweep to the inside and grab 3rd place away. But yeah, I think at this stage, you know, as everyone starts to string back out, you're going to use the tools that you have in your toolbox, and one of those is that sequential lever to your right. Play around with it, see what you can find.
Yeah, I was going to say, that looked a little more tight for the 3s. We got pit stops, Slaughter and Jacob Bell coming on the pit road.
Locking the tires up, getting on down. At lap 32, this is basically splitting the race into thirds. But I think that's kind of a strategy that they're going to roll with here. So 2-stop strategy on the even mark. So their next stop will be at lap number 64 or 65. And then that would be about a 40-lap run all the way to the end of the race.
Yeah, all these guys are going to have to try and manage the tires. As mentioned, 3 sets of tires. Can split it into thirds. Well, we'll see. I think at least one driver trying to make it halfway through and then make for the first pit stop. But these guys are going to want to leave a full set remaining in case we get a late race caution like we saw last week in March.
Yeah, that was my concern with a race that's so far distance-wise and you have so much tire fall-off, is if you take all your tires early or you plan for, for a 2-stopper, or you get an early caution, which we didn't really get, that could really throw off the tire strategy. But thankfully, it should be fairly straightforward tonight. You pit twice, you got another set in the box for a late race yellow. I don't think you're going to have a scenario where you end up using that 3rd set under green flag conditions, or at least you shouldn't plan your night that way. And I don't think there's any way to conserve an extra set too. You're going to have 1 set for a late race restart, and that's all you're going to have.
Wouldn't surprise me if we see any of these playoff drivers who need a win and move on to the championship round in Vegas. It wouldn't surprise me if they make a 2-tire stop to try and get track position and see how far those 2 tires will take him.
Yeah, I'd be worried a lot about right side tires here, but left sides I think you could get away with leaving them on. I think right sides are too important. I think we'll see some tire failures at some point, maybe not tonight, but with this next-gen car here in iRacing, I wouldn't be surprised to see some tire failures at tracks like this just because of the load. Meanwhile, front runners to pit lane. Looks like the 67, the 33, and the 7 all coming on down.
The last time we saw Hearn and Weishart try to get on the pit road, they wrecked, so they improved from Homestead all the way back there for playoff race 1.
Baby steps. And nice and neatly into the boxes. Don't slide the tires. They're all in nice and neatly. The 7 car a little bit hot there, and he will have to reverse.
Going to cost him a couple of seconds.
There's
the 88 of Slaughter. Yeah, difference right there. New tires for the 88, old tires for the 91. I think he's going to make his pit stop this time.
And here he comes. Fast entry off of turn 4. Get it slowed down. And he does. Here comes DeLeo behind him.
Yeah, they got to get it slowed down to that yellow cone over there. We see some more Hearts, and boy, that driver behind him, I think that was Ed Robertson. Actually, that was Balancino and Robertson, but Robertson looked a little hot coming into pit road.
And here's a look at it again, coming out of turn 4, just trying to get the thing slowed down, and that was pretty quick. He closed up the distance. I thought he had locked up the tires, though, so maybe he didn't speed. Very aggressive into the box, though. He gets it up, the right side tires up. As the rest of the field, we have about half the field that has not made their pit stops yet. Ryan Hartz is going to be next, and he will probably bring some others with him. Garrett Grant stays out. Rafe Slate's coming in, and Jordan Martin and Matthew Robinson will stay out this time.
Yeah, I think one thing we didn't really get a glimpse at, we saw the 7 slide over his pit box. It looks like Cameron Hearn might have done the same thing, although didn't get a good look at it because now he's losing time to the 33 of Weishart.
Yeah, he did. He was actually 2 seconds slower in pit lane as a whole than Scalia, who we did see slide the tire. So a bit of a mistake for Hearn on pit road, but sort of inevitable with how aggressive you have to be to make up any time in the pits. It's really a zero-sum game. You can only lose, really. It's a frustrating situation in iRacing in particular because, you know, you're never going to have that magic stop. It's always just sort of meh. And sometimes you get a real bad one, but it's nice to not make it worse yourself.
There is Jordan Martin coming down pit road. So I've yet to see Grant, Robertson, Culberson, Tyler Nichols, Seinfeld, and Paul Irvin come down pit road. Everybody else, though, seems like they've already made a pit stop. But I don't think Jacob Bell's come down either.
Speeding penalty for the 69 of Gary Lewis. Too fast on pit lane. Have to come back down. That's a catastrophic situation tonight when we don't have a lot of yellows. You're going to lose a lot of time, and you might not get it back. With how this race is going, I could see green flag racing a lot tonight. Look at this battle here. Cars that have already pit. Brad Slaughter Jr. has a couple lap holder tires. Weishart and Nichols, only a few laps between them. Look at these guys battle down the backstretch.
Weishart going to try and... I thought he was going to try and get around the outside. Nichols going to try and get around on the bottom as his brother Tyler Nichols coming down pit road. Culberson, his other driver, down pit road. Both of his cars are down pit road.
Good battles here. They continue. 4 drivers have not yet come to pit lane. Grant Robinson, Seidenfeiden, and Paul Irvin. They are all on the racetrack still. I'm surprised about Seidenfeiden in particular. I wonder if he's trying to wait for a yellow flag, but I just don't think you're going to get one. Maybe they were expecting to see somebody make a mistake leaving pit lane up on the apron or something, but at this stage, I would be pitting. Losing a lot of ground. Again, they're trying to set up the overcut, I think, where they're going to have fresher tires later in the race, and I don't hate that strategy at all. I'm just not sure that any of these drivers were close enough to the front to really utilize this to jump to the lead.
Yeah, well, some of these guys are looking at it like, hey, if we do this, we could put ourselves in a chance to win. And that's all these guys in the top 4 are going for. They're not in the playoffs, so they're just trying to get wins. And sometimes you'll have strategy calls where, okay, this might put us in the front. So that's what these guys are banking on. Plus, they're trying to go the distance on fuel, as mentioned. 45 to 48 laps, and they're on lap 41 right now.
Culberson into the pit box for Solar Flare Racing's 81. The 69, insult to injury, unsafe pit exit. Crossed onto the racing surface before the turn 2 exit. And the 81 I'm hearing also spun on pit lane entry. Here's what that looked like. We'll go back a little bit farther here as it came out of turn 4, trying to get the car woed on down. It's onto the apron. And well, he got it slowed down. He must have spun. Oh, no, I didn't see the spin, but I'm hearing reports that he did. But he's back out on the racetrack. He might have missed pit lane the previous lap. That's probably what happened.
Yeah.
Let's go back.
Like a mystery spin.
Let's see if we can find that again. There it is. This is back about a lap previous. Coming on down pit lane and just got a little bit out of shape. Almost had it locked the rears, and that's when it gave up. He's a lap down now. That's going to hurt his day, certainly. 4 cars still remaining to pit. Grant, Robertson, Seidenfeld, and Irvin still have not come to pit lane all the while. The driver that will cycle to the lead, well, it'll be this battle. It'll be the 33 and the 91. And where has the 88 gone? He's slid backwards a lot, back a couple spots.
Yep, and Brad's grandfather checking in. Brad, his grandfather always tuning into the races. He tuned in right at the right time when he was in the battle with Weishart and Nichols. He pitted a little earlier than those guys, so he's got some more lap on the tires. Just trying to hold on to the car. He's over there back in 8th. There he is. 8th for the 88 car so far. 7 points entered tonight, 7 points outside the cutoff, so he's going to have a solid run. And he's not too bad. He's been running inside the top 10, but he's going to have to run closer towards the front if he wants to have a shot at that championship.
Yeah, he's keeping the nose clean right now, but he's going to need to run a little bit better towards the end of the race or make a Hail Mary decision that will put him up in the front. But here's Weishart and Nichols. Again, this is going to cycle to be the race lead as a couple of the other drivers have already made their pit stops. That leaves Grant and Seidenfeld, the only drivers who have not pit. And Weishart runs 3rd, but again, this will cycle to be your battle for the top spot.
Yep, we're right on board with the 33 in our area iRacing shop battle for the lead, presumably lead. Fans, be sure to check out area iRacing shop for merchandise to represent your favorite drivers, such as David Weishart or Jake Nichols. You can even have Cameron Hearn or James Scalia as well. You can buy those guys merch, whether it's t-shirts, hoodies, socks, pillows, you name it, we got it. Check on at areiaracing.shop and use discount code Happy Hour for 10% off your purchase. As we see the 91 to the outside of Weishart there, door-to-door in turn 1, now turn 2. Got to give the edge to Nichols, but here comes Weishart back on the bottom, down the back.
Yeah, I think the outside's the place to be. Again, we're not seeing drivers shift on fresh tires. We got down to the mid-150s in the corners and still no shift from Nichols. So I think it's once you kind of drop into the 140s and 130s in the corner speed, which we are seeing, that is going to require the downshift to get a little extra torque. Now, that is promising for the Real Cup race here next week, Hunter, because if you're slowing from 185, 190 down to, and we are doing about 190. Here's Jake Nichols, 192 into turn 1. If you're slowing from 190 down to about 130, that means good things for the racing. That's a lot of speed differential, and that's typically when we see some of the best racing in stock cars, is when you have to really, even if you're not using the brakes, you have to slow down a bunch.
Yeah, off-throttle time is going to be key if this is a preview of what we could see for Sunday's race over at Michigan. Looking a little further back now with Ed Robertson, Alan Balancino, Jacob Bell popping in and out.
Thinking back earlier in the season, the other 2-mile oval race that we ran on, Ed Robertson was the race winner. It hasn't been a magic night tonight, and Seidenfeld is dropping backwards. What is going on with this car?
Yeah, that's a shock. I mean, I know he's hit the wall, pitted, but I don't know if it's just down on speed or if he had a bad 3 and 4 there.
He lost a lot of spots last time around, but...
Oh, you know what? I don't think he's pit yet.
Oh, he hasn't. You're right. That would explain that.
Yeah.
Is he trying to one-stop this race?
I think he joked earlier about it, but it seems like he's actually going to try and do it. Remember, I believe it was the Lodge Black Series with him and Weishart. They were going to try and split it in half.
No.
And I think Seidenfeld was closest to doing that.
I think it's out of fuel. Here he comes.
Yeah.
Thought it was sputtering out of turn 4, but I had thought he pit because he fell out of the front group, but that was just because he was getting past. Now you can see all the damage on the side of this car. Have a look at that. There is so much damage to the skirt area along the entire right side. The entire door is caved in. That's a ton of damage on the 45.
Yeah, that is not good for the 45 to signify, but see if any of that is optional repair or if it's required repair.
And for second place now as Garrett Grant finally hits pit lane from the lead. Turns the lead back over to Jake Nichols. This is the battle for second. Cameron Hearn going by David Weishart, and having a look at the differences between the strategies here. 14-lap-old tires for the 67. For Weishart, same situation there. Same for Scalia. Arts has slightly fresher tires in that number 3. Dominic DeLeo kind of in between, and then Brad Slaughter Jr., the oldest tires of the bunch, down in 7th. But again, all 7 playoff competitors in the top 7. Now that we're separated out, we've got a lot of green flag running ahead of us here. Now it turns into who's fast on their own, not in the pack. And this is a different race than we were looking at 25 laps ago.
I was going to say second, third, and fourth all pitted, but Hearn just now getting back around the 33 of Weishart, and he had a little bobble in his pit, as did the 7 of Scalia, and it costed him some time and it costed him position. So with him just getting back around the 33 of Weishart, as we have another driver on pit road, Paul Irvin, once again bringing that 48 car down pit road.
Yeah, so this is the first time that he's come down pit lane tonight, and he was just making it stick. So he made it 50 laps. That's almost halfway. And if you were to get a caution flag or two, I think you can make it to the end from here, but I don't think you really want to count on that necessarily.
Yeah, if it goes green to the end, that 48 car will have to come back down pit road.
Wow.
Boy, look at that.
Well, denting the camera here. And Brad Slaughter Jr. hitting pit lane in the number 88. This is an unscheduled stop from what I understand.
I think he's going to try and split this in half. So he's got about 54 laps. So if it goes green to the end, this is what he's thinking. He's thinking it's going to go green to the end. So he's going to split this in half, slides in, does out the back end.
He's got to do something, right? I mean, he's running last of the playoff competitors. He has to try something different. So I kind of commend this. If this race were to go green to the end from here and he was doing what he was doing, he was not going to move on. He's got to try a different strategy. I like the bold call here, but there is a very high chance that this ends up burning him even worse and he ends up further down the field.
Well, we'll have to see. I'm thinking he's going to hit with around 27-ish to go, somewhere around there, split this in half, and try to use the last set of tires all the way to the finish. That's what I'm assuming that he's doing. But
yeah,
looking back here, 67, the 33, just a moment ago, they were pushing down the front stretch, trying to get close to that 91 of Nichols, but he's really driven away from these guys now.
I think Brad Slaughter's strategy could work one of 2 ways. He could bank on being that much faster over the entire rest of the race, which is possible, I suppose, or he makes that second and final, or that third and final pit stop, doesn't go a lap down, and then we get a caution flag immediately after. That would be a gold mine for the 88. Those are both, not pie in the sky, but I would say unlikely. We'll see how it works out for him, though. He is the first car 1 lap down right now as we go back to that battle for second. And wow, this 33 really close to the wall. Last time by, they were both slower than Jake Nichols, so it wasn't working out whatever they were trying.
Hovering right around the second, the gap between Nichols and Hearn, and he's got Weishart behind the push, but I'm not really sure if that's doing anything. Nichols still driving away from him.
Yeah, it was 41.748 last time by for Nichols. Hearn went a little bit quicker at a 41.735. But back a little bit deeper in the field. Here's Robertson chasing Alan Ballacino in the number 70, and there's the 81 of Culberson, who's a lap down, slotted between them.
Yep, Battle right around 7th.
Behind him, here's Rafe Slate and Jacob Bell fighting for 9th. And Jake Nichols would just put a stamp on this season if he could win this race too.
Yeah, this would be his 8th win on the season. He's already got 7, and he's the only Cup driver with multiple wins. Everybody else has just 1 win on the season. That's because that 91 car of Jake Nichols, he's been fast all season long, and mentioned, he's already got 7. If he wins tonight, this would be 8. He would win 50% of the races if this race were to finish the way that they're running right now.
Weishart's already resorted back to shifting now to try to find some pace on the cars in front of him. A lot deeper in the field. Here's Tyler Nichols and Garrett Grant. Garrett Grant's on fresh tires. This will be easy work for him. He stayed out a lot longer. He is 17 seconds behind the race leader. So just for reference, he's on the back straightaway right now, and the race leader is entering turn 1. So it's basically half a lap that Tyler Nichols is behind. But, or I should say Garrett Grant is, but Garrett Grant is going a full second faster a lap. So we'll see how much longer that benefit works out for him.
Yeah, at some point the tires do even out here as we're now past the halfway portion of the race. But we'll get to our top 10 rundown presented by Swift Lifestyles. Fans, be sure to visit our sponsor Swift Lifestyles for clean supplements to help improve your focus in gaming. Use discount code AREA iRacing for 15% off your entire order. We would like to thank Swift Lifestyles for their continuous support of Area iRacing as we head to the leader, Jake Nichols. He's already locked in after the win last week at Martinsville, but another win would add to his already dominant Cup season. He's led about 17-ish laps in this race, close to that. If the 91 car can win, this will put him in a very good position momentum-wise heading into the championship race next week in Vegas, and one driver looking to join him is that 67 of Cameron Hearn. He's had a top 5 car throughout the night, had a bobble coming into pit road for his green flag pit stop, but he enters tonight only 9 points outside the cutoff, so he needs a win to get in essentially, and he's running 1 spot away from that. The next spot behind him seems like he's always running in third. That 33 car of David Weishart, always with the third place car, always has top 5 speed. He entered tonight plus 8 to the cutoff, so if he can just continue to manage that 33 car, stay in the third spot, he'll make it into Vegas with no problem. And another one that is looking to join him with an even bigger cushion, James Skyler, running 4th on the track, plus 15 to the cutoff. He's won every playoff race except for last week's race at Martinsville. So this 7 car rolling that momentum into Michigan, running inside the top 5. Running in 5th, he almost didn't make it tonight. Ryan Hart's qualified 2nd and then had internet issues, and fortunately he was able to get back in before the race started. But Hart's has also won, -6 to the cutoff line, needing the next driver behind him to have a downward night, and that's not happening. The 22 of DeLeo running in 6th spot, plus 6 to the cutoff line. So if DeLeo can manage with what he's got, then it seems like he will move on into Vegas. Still got over 50 laps left, but anything can happen, and that 22 running in the 6th spot for the moment. The highest non-playoff driver, Alan Balancino, in the 70. He started deep in the field in 21st, and he's moved inside the top 10, so that 70 car's got speed. See if he can continue to work inside the top 10 and maybe the top 5. Over in 8th is Ed Robertson. He is the winner from the only other 2-mile track we went to, which was Auto Club. Started in 5th, faded towards the top 10 and outside of it, but now he's worked his way back in the 8th spot for that number 64 car, and behind him is Rafe Slate in the 12. He also started deep in the field, 17th, worked his way up to 9th, so in a solid run for that number 12 of Rafe Slate. And then right behind him, Jacob Bell also started 15th, worked his way inside the top 10, and no complaints from what I've heard for that 77 car. And that was your top 10 rundown presented by Swift Lifestyles.
You're watching the Area Elite Entertainment Cup Series playoffs from Michigan International Speedway here in Brooklyn, Michigan on SimTV. Kyle Heyer joined by Hunter Sleppy. Just past the halfway point, about 31 minutes remaining in our 105-lap race. It has been green flag from the drop of the green flag. Here's a look at your race analysis so far. 45, whoops, wrong graphic. I want race recap. I want 45 laps to go. No cautions, 5 leaders, 5 lead changes. The most laps led so far today has been Jake Nichols in at number 91, and he's led about 22 of them so far tonight. So he continues to dominate this one as we are past halfway into the waning stages of this one, Hunter. 91 has been dominant, but now we're looking at the playoffs. How do things shake up with the way things are running? The 67's got to be in a pretty good spot. But guys like the 88 of Brad Slaughter Jr., an entirely different strategy. There's a lot of work left to do for him.
Yeah, Slaughter's on an entirely different strategy. He's basically banking on this to go caution-free, and he'll pit with around 27 laps to go and have the freshest set of tires for the finishing run. If this race does go green to the finish, everybody else has to make a pit stop. The furthest we could see drivers go on a tank of fuel is 50 laps, so if they hit, they're close to it. They're close to the fuel window. If they can stretch it to 50, which is what we saw the 48 of Paul Irvin do, as Scalia comes down pit road now.
Yeah, again, I think we're going to see some people break from strategies as they realize this race is going to go green. What are tires worth? I think the challenge for DeLeo, I mean, he's going to pit and be done right here, I'd imagine. But I think, if you're going to make that strategy call, I think I liked Brad's, where it was, commit to it early and just roll and run with it. I think DeLeo might have been a little bit late to that strategy call, but he will be done pitting, where Brad Slaughter Jr. still will have to come down one more time, as you mentioned previously. For second place, I know it's not as close as it was earlier, but Hearn, Weishart, and Scalia are not that far apart. So right now it's this trio of Ford Mustangs running behind the Toyota of Nichols, second, third, and fourth. And at least they're still in touch with each other. They can maybe save a little bit of fuel like this, but I think at this stage, everyone's just aiming for that second pit stop window. And for the 22, he was a little early, I think. I think the fuel will probably stretch it a little bit longer. No, maybe not. Jordan Martin's coming now, so maybe this will trigger our second wave of pit stops. Will we see it? We have to see a third stop at some point, you think, Hunter, right? You don't have to.
Looks like Hearn's down pit road, actually.
Yeah, you don't have to make a third stop, but drivers are coming and maybe doing a three-stopper. But again, if they're going to do this, I liked Brad's idea better. I'm going to be honest.
These guys now, if they pit, they're going to go on fuel, but it's just the tires at the end. It's really going to be a concern. And with this case, looks like Slaughter, he's definitely going to have better advantage on tires than some of these guys, and if not most of these guys, if this brings everybody else down pit road in the next handful of laps.
Yeah, I think the one thing you have to worry about is you're right, that tire wear, and we don't necessarily know what tire wear they're dealing with right now. They could have taken those right sides off and seen the wear percentages and been pretty worried about what they were seeing. We're seeing times drop off over 2 full seconds. James Scalia, for example, just ran a 42 flat after running a 39.705 earlier in the night. So maybe the tires are a much bigger concern than they were expecting. Look at the 33, big lift, and the 7 had to lift as well.
Didn't have to lift as much as the 33, so they're aboard for second. As we look at the track temp, it stayed about the same since we went green. It was 120 in qualifying, dropped down to about 116 come race time. Oh, now the 7 gets loose.
And he's going to come to pit lane.
They're actually going to come down pit road, yeah. Him and Weishart.
We'll watch the 33 behind the 7, but they get it woed down. Look at that mean Ford Mustang slowing down to pit road speed. So again, we're just about 38 laps to go. You could easily make it to the end on fuel from here. I wonder how many drivers will commit to a 3-stopper versus this 2-stopper, and what the 88 will do now that he's kind of committed to this 3-stopper on a different lap count.
Yeah, this next 10 or 12, 10 to 20 laps is going to be crucial for the 88 of Slaughter. He needs this to go green to the end if he wants to have a shot at possibly running the championship, because this call, it could work out for the 88.
Clouds have come over the speedway as well. We might see that track temperature cool off a little bit as the track is kind of covered in shadow here from the clouds. Been pretty sunny so far today. The race leader Jake Nichols on pit lane for the second time today. And here he comes into the box, locks it down, and has to back up, but with the lead he had, I don't think it'll be catastrophic.
I can't believe Jake Nichols made a mistake on pit road. I thought this guy was perfect.
He shows a weakness, but is it enough for anyone else to pounce on? That's yet to be determined.
Well, Hearn had a similar incident, although I don't think it was as bad as Jake Nichols. Looked like that was pretty slight there from the 91, but Hearn had a similar issue, and the 7 of Scalia. Didn't affect Scalia too much, but Hearn, he lost the position after that pit stop because of him oversliding the tires over the pit box. So we'll see. I don't think it will affect Nichols that much, but we have seen that a couple of times here throughout the race.
Garrett Grant is back on pit lane. That was a short middle stint for him. He will come into his box from third. Ed Robertson is on the backstretch and kind of in a little bit of a tussle right now with the cars that are just ahead of him that have already come on down. Jordan Martin is one of them, the 81 of Dwayne Culberson. He had that failed pit stop attempt earlier. Then he came down to pit lane to service the car, but he's been stuck about a lap down ever since. That has been a frustrating day for the 81. He needs a yellow to get back on sequence. I think everyone would like a yellow just to reset, but with how it's been going, I don't really expect to see one.
Yeah, wouldn't it hurt for the majority of these guys if caution comes out?
I've seen a race with the next-gen cars here at Michigan when they were running a previous downforce package, and it was a pretty tough race to do anything. But tonight, the passing has not been as difficult, but once you get strung out like this, it's got to be kind of tricky to make up ground, and everyone seems to be resorting to funky pit strategies and pitting at different times to try to gain places on their competitors. I don't think you'd resort to it that much on a previous generation car, but with how difficult it is to make up ground, I think it's worth mentioning.
Yeah, speaking of making up ground, Nichols passing the 88 of Slaughter for the 4th position. Got around him quick as the 88 still on older tires than the rest of the field, as we'll see the newer tires of Weishart, Scalia, and Ryan Hartz over there in the 3 just fly by this 88 car.
Yeah, he's last pit about 20 laps ago, and you mentioned earlier that it would be about a 27-lap run to do the strategy he was doing. But again, it's going to come down to, if he pits, is he going to have enough time to make up the ground on those fresh tires? He's losing a lot of ground. He's already lost 6 seconds to Cameron Hearn in just a couple of laps.
Yeah, Hearn's got about a 3-second gap over himself and Jake Nichols, so got to keep an eye on that as well, because at some point the tires do even out. But with how fast Jake Nichols has been, will he have enough time to catch the 67 of Hearn? And if Hearn stays in the lead, he's into the next round, which is the championship round at Vegas.
Here's a look at Jake Nichols' last lap, a 40 flat, essentially, a 40.6 for Cameron Hearn. So that's the difference. And the tire strategy between them, Hearn, his last stop was 7 laps ago. That was only 4 for Nichols. So that is only a 3-lap difference in tire. The good really gets scrubbed off pretty quick on these Goodyears around Michigan.
Yeah, one driver hoping that Nichols can get around Hearn is DeLeo, because if Hearn wins, then DeLeo is out.
Yeah, DeLeo is not rooting for that 67 right now. He's the biggest Jake Nichols fan there is, at least for the second half of this race.
Yeah, I'd say. He's had a solid race, too. He's run around that 6th, 7th position all day long, so if he can just maintain this and not have an issue, then he'll move into Vegas without a problem. I think if he falls down to, say, 12th or 13th, then we could get into a tiebreaker scenario.
Tyler Nichols and Dwayne Culberson. This has been a tough day for this half of the Solar Flare Racing team. They have not been able to really crack the top 10 for very long at all. And ditto for Swerve and Irvin in that number 48. It's been a little bit of a tough day for him. Started the race in 16th, and that's about all you have to say. It's just been a struggle for the 48.
Yep, just hasn't been his kind of night, although we will see him tomorrow night in the Truck Series, the CNC Logging Truck Series, going to Michigan. And they'll also be their cutoff round. So we'll also go from 8 playoff drivers to 4 in that one, and one of those being Brad Slaughter, who's going to go into that race with these as he won the previous week. And he's going to contend for possibly his 2nd straight Truck Series championship.
I guess that smooths things over a little bit. If your Cup Series race isn't going great, at least you got the Truck Series to fall back onto tomorrow night and go in with some positivity there. And actually, it gets a little tough to keep up with things, Hunter, because all the drivers, they all basically run each series, and they're all having very different seasons at each of them. So it gets a little confusing. Oh yeah, Brad won a race, but it wasn't this one. It was Truck Series race last week. Here comes the 22 now. Dominic DeLeo past the 88 to the inside. Just behind them is the 51 of Mark Patterson, who's a lap down. We had 22 drivers start the race. Forrest Smith, Gary Lewis are the only drivers out. There are 3 cars, 1 lap down. Everybody else is on the lead lap right now. going by quick. And Nichols is reeling in that 67. It's going to happen very, very soon, probably in turn 3.
Yeah, allergies getting in the way there, just like Hearn is in the way of Nichols. Trying to close in on the battle for the lead. Boy, he's right there. He's going to make the move right now in the middle of 3 and 4. Nichols on the inside, Hearn on the outside. Not going to be much of a fight, although Hearn going to go down low, try and side draft. Not going to be enough. Nichols clears Cameron Hearn for the lead going into turn 1.
Made that look pretty easy. Hearn's going to sail it down there. I just don't think there's much he can do about it at this stage. So now the question becomes, are they just going to run this out to the end, or are they going to come down for that third pit stop? I think everybody here is going to assume that we're going to go green to the end from here. So that influence your strategy how you will. Crew chief, Hunter, do you come down or do you stay out?
I'd say stay out. If you're going to go on fuel, stay out. But if you're Slaughter and you're needing a different strategy call, then I would say come down whenever you feel like it. I'd say around 25 to go. So that's around lap 80, which he pitted at around, what was it, lap 50? So he was trying to split the second half into halves because he's got the 2 sets of tires. So I would expect him to come down in the next handful of laps or so, put on that fresh set and see what he can do with it.
Yeah, so there he is. Last pit stop 27 laps ago. And so you're right, as we get closer and closer to the end of this race, here's a look at your recap. We got 28 laps to go. This would be splitting it in half this lap if he were to come down now. Or, you know, because he's made his bet. He's got to lay in it now. He's got to commit to that strategy. Come down to pit lane. And I wouldn't wait too long on this because you need to leave yourself enough time to use those fresh tires you're going to put on. So if you wait any longer, we're getting down to 25 laps to go or so, Hunter. You're not going to have time to use those fresh tires.
Yeah, it might be a lap down if he comes in to pit.
Yeah, but like, what else can you do? I mean, if you don't pit, you're going to be a lap down anyway, just because you're going to drop so many spots. So, again, he's made his bet. He's made his decision. It was a Hail Mary to try to do something with the night, and that's all he's got left. That's the only choice he has, other than hoping and praying for a caution, which statistics tonight are telling me is not likely.
Yeah, complete polar opposite of last week. Short track, slow speed, a lot of cautions. Michigan, big track, fast speeds, no caution.
And this might also be a little bit of a preview of what we're going to see next week at Las Vegas, not from the style of racing, but from what I expect from how the night will progress. I don't think we're going to see a lot of yellow flags. Cameron Hearn is on pit lane, and this should be his final stop of the night. Got right side tires on, left side tires going on. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that was his third stop of the night. So Cameron Hearn on a 3-stop strategy. So now if the caution comes out, Hearn is in trouble.
He is in trouble if a yellow comes out. But this might set up Hearn in a good spot to win. And again, yeah, that's Nichols right there. He's going to put him a lap down, but he's also needing a win to get in. Second isn't going to cut him anything. So he's got to also do something. He's going to be a lap down for, I think, the next half lap or so, but Hearn's going to have the advantage on tires, see if he can try and get back around the 91 on the newer sets of tires. Wow. He's going to work right there.
Holy cow.
He's not playing around. He's putting his foot on the pedal. He's in all mode.
Yeah,
he's in all go mode.
That pit crew installed a fresh set of 4 tires and a supercharger on that number 67. He's gone, but that's the difference. It's 2+ seconds a lap. So at lap 82, Brad Slaughter Jr. now remains on the racetrack.
Yeah, at some point the tires do even out, but yeah, as you mentioned, I think they put the turbo boost right below the diffuser, so it's not in plain sight to say, hey, they added something. No, they didn't.
Look at it. I mean, it's just like he set the AI to easy difficulty. He just drives right on by. But that's the difference, and Cameron is now banking on this race running green to the end. Now, if Jake Nichols stays out, Cameron Hearn has to make up 34 seconds worth of time. And he was closer to the lead than Nichols was, so how is this going to work for Brad?
Yeah, that is another interesting one. I don't know. I think he's going to have to come down pit road again. 88, I would assume, but like I said, the longer he's staying out, the longer he's screwing himself over.
Yeah. Interesting strategies with these Hail Marys. That's what you end up with is how do I move on? How do I get a win? How do I put myself in position to gain a bunch of points on the people I'm racing? If you're not having a good night, you got to try something. So I commend their bravery to not just stick with the norm. All right, so I am also hearing that Cameron Hearn's previous stop was only 2 tires, and now he got 4, so it might not have liked the balance. So putting on another set of tires and refueling the car, even though he didn't really need the fuel. He tried a 2-tire stop and it didn't work out for him, but again, I think with the wear that we're seeing, I guess it's not super surprising that 2 tires wasn't a good call.
That would explain why he was so far out in front of Jake Nichols. I mean,
Yes.
They did pit on different laps, but he was in front of Nichols by at least 3 seconds, maybe 4.
It's almost difficult to tell now because if you're fueling the car, the difference between lefts and rights isn't as big of a difference on the pit lane time as it was previously, where you'd have maybe a 14-second stop for 4 tires and a 6-second stop for 2. Now it's more like kind of 7 and 10, so it's a little trickier to judge who took 2 and who took 4. But Cameron bailed out of the 2-tire call and is now going to kind of stick with that strategy now as we hit 20 laps to go this time by.
Yep, inside of 20 laps to go, presented by the Area iRacing Twitch channel. Fans that are watching right now on the Area iRacing Twitch channel, you can subscribe to the channel for only $5 a month to watch commercial-free coverage of all area broadcasts. You can also use the new Area iRacing emotes over in the chat. Over right now, we got a hype emote, got all the flags, a green flag, a yellow flag, checkered flag, a win sticker, white flag, and much more down in the chat. Also, you'll earn double channel points as a subscriber that you can use to redeem for free merchandise. So go on and subscribe for commercial-free coverage, double channel points that can get you free merch, and channel emotes.
So under 20 laps to go now. Here's Garrett Grant chasing Ed Robertson in the 64. You mentioned Robertson's previous win this season at Fontana. But I do find that Fontana and Michigan, while they are the same shape and while they're the same length, I find that they could not race more differently.
Yeah, that might also be because of the pavement, like you mentioned, because we have this track was repaved in 2012. Auto Club hasn't been repaved since its inception into the sport.
Yeah, and I think also the banking plays into that a little bit as well. And it just feels fundamentally different. You feel a little bit more constricted on racing line here at Michigan than you do at Fontana. You can be a bit more creative in California with where you place the car. You can ride the rim all the way around. You can drive right to the bottom of the track. Here, you're kind of stuck in the middle 3 or 4 lanes versus the extremes, where at Fontana, if you kind of pick the extremes, the middle is kind of no man's land. So very different racetracks despite that. Brad Slaughter Jr. hits pit lane, and this is with 18 laps to go. So bold strategy. We'll see if it pays off.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's going to pay off him. He's going to be a lap down, maybe 2 laps down from this call. If he would have pitted earlier, he might have been in the better spot, and he overslid his pit, so
by a lot.
That about sums it up. Yeah.
Weishart, Skyler run for 2nd place. And this race is almost over. We got about 11 minutes of racing left. That's how little time is left. But that might be the nail in the coffin for Brad Slaughter Jr.'s playoff hopes. Jake Nichols, however, he has been absolutely dominant this season. The playoffs began at Homestead. That was on July 11th. You'd have to go all the way back to June to find a race that Jake Nichols didn't win. He's won the last 3 races. He didn't win at Charlotte Roval, my mistake there. He won at Homestead and Martinsville, however. So it's been a little bit more recent, but I will say that he has not finished outside of the top 2 since Talladega back on June 27th.
Yeah, and if that slide over in the pit stall for Slaughter wasn't adding insult to injury, another nail, he sped on pit road.
Oh, well, that's it. Brad Slaughter Jr. That is a tough way to finish it out, but again, he gave it all he had and tried something different. It just didn't work out this time, so he got caught for speeding, and that will be the end of the night competitively for the 88 car.
That'll be the end of his Cup Championship playoff hopes. As mentioned, tomorrow night he'll be running in the CNC Logging Truck Series race at Michigan, where he's already locked into the championship round there, so he can go into that race with these and focus on the championship over there, trying to defend his title. We have 15 laps left here at Michigan. Here's the Cup playoff standings. James Skyler, highest without a win, locked in. Jake Nichols is locked in. Wyatt Hart, the defending Cup champ, +8. DeLeo sitting at +6. Hart's Slaughter's out. Hearn needing that strategy call to go right. I'm not sure if it was strategy call. It seems like strategy. And then Johnston, who he's suspended indefinitely, so he's already eliminated. So Johnston, Slaughter out. Boy, it's going to be close. We could have a caution that could switch this up here, Kyle. This could turn this race upside down. We haven't had a caution all night.
Yeah, I think the one question mark is DeLeo and Hartz. I think everyone else, and then you got to throw Hearn in there with the strategy. Assuming that Hearn's strategy doesn't work out for him, you're going to look squarely at Hartz and DeLeo. Hartz was out coming into the night, but one thing that he does have is he's got 17 laps left on the night. DeLeo doesn't have that extra point for leading a lap, despite starting on the pole, so that hurt him a little bit. Had he had that point, it would help him out. But I think Hartz isn't quite far enough ahead of the 22 to take full advantage of the 22's kind of mid-top 10 night. So Hartz needs a couple more spots, needs DeLeo to lose some spots, and then we could open up the opportunity of swapping those two, DeLeo out, Hartz in. But for now, I think the top four of the championship that came into the night should be the top four leaving the night. But again, the 67 and the 3, really the dark horses here potentially.
Yeah, I think the other thing that could counter the 3 leading a lap is that you get a bonus point for winning the pole. So that's how the 22 has counteracted that.
That throws that off, I guess. He still didn't get the extra point for leading a lap.
No, he did not. But that would give the upper hand to DeLeo.
Yeah, but then Hartz didn't get the pole, so I guess it does even out.
You also get a bonus point for having a race, finishing the race with 0 incident points. But we'll have to see. I mean, it was a 6-point difference between Hartz and DeLeo, and they're running right next to each other in 4th and 5th. So kind of hard to lose points if you're DeLeo, kind of hard to gain points if you're Hartz.
Yeah, it's difficult. And you have to think back. I mean, this is, 3 or 4 car track positions where think to any race that you had this season and think of where you could have lost or gained those spots. DeLeo, for example. Last week he finished 11th at Martinsville. Had he finished 5th or 4th at Martinsville, how different would that have been? If he didn't crash at Talladega, if he'd had a better night at Gateway, or a couple spots here or there at Darlington, or sat on the pole at any of those places, it's just every moment matters in a season like this. So, you have to look back and say, where could I have gained those spots? And then realize that the past is the past. You can't change anything about it. So you just got to move forward and get what you can. But DeLeo, the one missed opportunity tonight was not scoring that extra point for leading a lap that would have been useful if Hartz ends up beating him tonight.
Yep, coming to the stripe now. 10 laps to go. So Nicholson comfortable with a 4.2 second lead over second place, Wyatt Hart, 3rd place, Skyler, 4th place, Hartz.
And here's Cameron Hearn, and I think he'll be frustrated to learn that he is 25 seconds back, and his lap times have essentially stalled in comparison to the leader. I mean, he's going to half a second quicker, but he's almost an entire lap back. He needs a caution flag, and he needs some real big Hail Marys to make this happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's going to end up finishing inside the top 10, but outside of the playoffs, and he's going to not be fighting for a championship next week at Las Vegas, but there's still 9 laps left, so who knows what could happen. Look at this.
Yeah. Ooh.
DeLeo and Balancino.
This is all for position. Balancino, Robertson, Grant is also there as well, so this could be the break that Ryan Hartz was looking for.
Yeah, DeLeo really needs to hang on to every spot that he can here. It's going to be very, very close for 4th place in the standings if he loses a couple of these spots. Paul Irvin hits pit lane from 17th. Robertson and Grant are not in the playoffs. So they are just hungry for a win. Would they cut DeLeo a break? Maybe not.
Yeah, if their car is faster, then they're probably just gonna be like, yeah, we'll go around them. Why not?
It's a race. They signed up for a race, didn't they?
Yeah, well, they sure did. You're trying to be faster than the other cars in the field, and Robertson right on that bumper of DeLeo. But yeah, it's going to be close between Hartz and DeLeo on that points gap if the 22 continues to fall.
So for the playoffs, the last spot, Dominic DeLeo trying to hang on, but Robertson goes by. It's another point in the bucket for Ryan Hartz. And here comes Garrett Grant now in the 5. The 48 has parked the car. He is done for the night. And Brad Slaughter Jr. is done for the night.
I would say 48, 88, they put their cars in the bucket. They're both done.
Here comes Grant to the inside of DeLeo. This is going to make things really interesting in the points picture with Hartz now going to be about 4 or 5 spots ahead of DeLeo. Now the calculators are ticking away down there in pit lane.
Yeah, it's going to be real close. And the closest, fortunately for DeLeo, the closest car to him is Cameron Hearn. But will he have enough time to catch the 22?
Well, he's still coming. Hearn's still got about half a second on DeLeo a lap, and he's only about 5 seconds back. So it's not going to, math doesn't work out in Hearn's favor, but that's assuming DeLeo doesn't slow down anymore. Meanwhile, Jake Nichols continues to dominate this race. He'll be coming to 5 laps to go and add an 8th win to his resume this season. Could he get it done?
Boy, I've busted out my calculator, and from what I can see, if both Hartz and DeLeo have 0 incident points, then it's looking like it's currently at a 2-point differential between the 22 and the 3 in favor of DeLeo.
So Hartz needs a couple more spots. And Skyler and Weishart are those spots, but they're 3 seconds ahead. There's the difference, the red and teal cars, and there's Hartz in the 3 all on his own. Meanwhile, look at this battle. DeLeo watching them fight ahead of him. Oh, contact! They're going to crash on the front straightaway. Big damage.
They're 3 wide.
And that was a scary moment. They gather it up. Balacino, door slammed. And that was almost a caution flag.
Almost, but that's going to reel in the 22 a little bit back. Boy, right there on the front stretch.
Yeah, the 5 pushes the 64 here. And then the 70, he gets into the side of the 64, pushes the set. That wasn't intentional. It was off the bumper of the 5. But certainly a hair-raising moment for everybody. And DeLeo, I'm not sure if he would have been excited or upset to see that caution flag, but it was right ahead of him. It almost led to disaster.
Yeah, 4 laps to go, so Hearn's going to have to gain about a second a lap if he's going to pass the 22 of DeLeo. But from what I'm seeing, it's going to be a 2-point differential in favor of DeLeo. Now, if DeLeo has an incident point and Hartz does not, then that bonus point goes to Hartz, and then it's going to be a 1-point differential, if that is the case.
Yeah, again, you'd have to assume that everyone at this stage has no incident points if they got all the fenders on their cars. Takes a lot to get an incident at a track like this, in a race like this. And Robertson chasing Balacino there. A little bit of door slamming and bumper grinding there, but they made it out. Now the 22 sees the 51 come behind me. Don't touch me. Don't do anything. I don't want you bump drafting me. I don't want you shoving me. I don't want you passing me. Just stay back there for a couple more laps and cut me a break, if you will.
I don't want any issues.
No problems. Will this be a problem, though? The 64 and 70. I wonder if there was mutual understanding of what happened there on the front straight, or if there's maybe some frustration. There are 2 laps to go, 2 miles away from a white flag and sealing the deal on this race. And Nichols is in turn 2.
Hearn's not anywhere close towards DeLeo, and Hartz is nowhere near Weishart, so it's looking like that the 22 is going to be in to Vegas, but we'll have to wait and see once all the points are totaled.
Jake Nichols comes out of turn 4, The white flag is waving. 1 lap to go here for Michigan, Hunter.
That 91 car has been quick all day long. He's really pulled it in the second half of this race. He's already locked into next week at Vegas, so this is just going to add to the momentum push that he's going for, trying to win the championship.
For Jake Nichols, 7 wins on the season, 1 as recently as last week. That was a dominant race for him. There was some drama at the end, but tonight, no drama for Jake Nichols. He was already going to the season finale at Las Vegas. He was already celebrating, but he's going to do it again for the 8th time this season at a 50% win ratio this year. Jake Nichols gets it done. 8 wins in 2022 for the 91 Solar Flare Racing Toyota. James Scalia, second place in the number 7. He will move on in the playoffs, as will the 33 of Weishart. Ryan Hartz might be a couple points short. Meanwhile, turn 4, Robertson and Ballacino. This could be a crucial moment for DeLeo as they come out of turn 4 side by side, drag racing to the line for 6th place. It's going to be Ballacino over the 64 Robertson by 59 thousandths of a second. And Dominic DeLeo, he might have done just enough to make it to Las Vegas. Tyler Nichols 9th, Cameron Hearn comes across the line. That was even closer for 9th place. Have a look at this out of turn 4.
Hearn was let off at the very end, but that 79, whoop it in and get in that 9th spot.
Yeah, Cameron Hearn did everything he could, but it wasn't enough. Winner, Jake Nichols, celebrates in Michigan.
Win ratio is 50%. So, yeah, this 91 car is going to be tough to beat. But as we've seen before in the past, it all comes down to one race. So you can throw all this out the window for next week. If you run second, then that's good. But if the other championship driver is in front of you, then you're screwed. So really all this goes out the window next week. But, boy, what a regular season it's been for this 91 car.
He has been dominant. He was dominant tonight. Here is a look at our race results on your screen now. Top of the board, as we mentioned, Jake Nichols got it done. James Scalia, a good run by the number 7. He did slip around Weishart there, and David Weishart, not a bad night in that 33. He will move on. Ryan Hartz, again, we're presuming just a couple points short in the number 3. Garrett, Grant, Ballacino, Robertson, DeLeo, Nichols, and Cameron Hearn, the rest of your top 10. 6 of our 7 playoff competitors were in the top 10 tonight, but for a disappointed Brad Slaughter Jr., he came home in 20th after the strategy he tried didn't work out. He will not be headed to Las Vegas.
Yeah, he needed to pit earlier if he wanted that to have a chance at working. Then he bet on pit road, overshot his pit stall, and basically that was it. He made his bet, decided to lay in it on pit road. Such a shame to see that go out. And then there is Gary Lewis finishing 21st there. No cautions. Had 0 cautions in the night's race, 105 laps.
Yeah, here's a look at the race recap. 6 leaders, 8 lead changes, 0 cautions for 0 laps. We're going to average them out from Martinsville for the rest of the season, I bet. That was quite the night of racing. Our 3rd place finisher tonight was David Weishart, the number 33 Ford. A 3rd place is not a bad place, David. You're going to move on to the playoffs at Las Vegas and vie for a championship next week. A solid run, not a win, but you got to be pretty happy with tonight.
Yeah, not too bad. I don't like these. I'm not a huge fan of these 2-mile tracks. So come out here with 3rd. I'll 100% take it. I came into the race just really worried about where Dom was going to finish because we were so close. And if one of them guys outside the top 4 won the race, I knew it was going to be a fight with him for the last spot. So he got the pole, which worried me because that's an extra bonus point. But we kind of got away there through the pit stop cycles.
Tell me a little bit about what you learned tonight, because next week at Las Vegas, obviously, we're heading to another 1.5-mile track. These cars certainly have their quirks. Is there anything that you took away from tonight that you can learn about for next week? Or at this point, you just kind of going through the motions, you know what the car is going to do, you know how it's going to race. Is there any question about how the next week is going to race for you in your mind?
Not really. I think it's kind of, I already know how the car drives. It's real, setup dependent too as well. But I gotta put some practice in quite a bit this week. I I struggle keeping the right front on the car, and it kind of bit me tonight. You know, Jake and Cameron would get away from me there on the long run, and James would close up on me, and at the end of the run, even at the end of this race, he got around me because I got tight. So got to put some work in, figure out how to keep the right front tire under me, and if I can do that, I feel like I got a good a shot as any.
David Weishart, third place tonight, the number 33 butt kicker for David. Thanks for chatting with us, and we'll see you next week.
All right, thanks guys.
Thank you. Moving on now to James Scalia, who finished second on the night, 7 seconds back from Jake Nichols, but moving on. James, you got to feel pretty good about tonight. You ran fast, we're up front all evening long, but you might need to be one spot better next week. How do you think you can get that done?
Yeah, definitely going to be tough. We were the best of the rest tonight. Just going to be tough going into Vegas, knowing, I mean, you know who you got to beat. It's got to be Jake, and for him to beat me by 7 seconds this week is definitely a kick down, but hopefully we can figure something out at Vegas and run good there. That's, you know, this system, he's got a lot of wins this year, but this system kind of forces Game 7 moments, so you never know what'll happen in the very last race there at Vegas, and hopefully we can capitalize on a mistake or maybe just try and outrun him.
The last couple of rounds, you have not finished worse than 5th. That was last week at Martinsville. You haven't finished outside the top 10 since Talladega on June 27th. And before that, it was all the way back at Charlotte on June 6th of this year. So your consistency has been good. Is it good enough, though, for a second or a first next week?
Yeah, I think so. I'm definitely up there with the best of the rest. Like I said, it's all about Jake Nichols. Like, I know that I can beat pretty much everybody else, I feel like, on a weekly basis. It's just beating him, and the only place I've been able to beat him straight up was at road course. So Vegas, sadly, not a road course, so we're gonna have to try and figure out how to do it on a 1.5 miles, where that's kind of bread and butter. He's been pretty good, so it's definitely gonna be an uphill battle going into next week.
Well done, James. A solid run tonight from the number 7. We'll see you at Las Vegas. Best of luck.
Thanks, guys, and big thanks to butt kicker David Weishart Esports. I know David was pretty pumped to have 2 of us with a shot, so 50% of the field next week going for the championship feels pretty good, so hopefully we can get it done.
All right, we'll see you next week, James. Thanks for chatting.
Thanks, guys.
Jake Nichols gets it done for the 8th time this season. Perhaps no surprise, but tonight was a dominant one for you, Jake, and another one goes in the books. Your playoffs has been pretty solid, but you need to do it maybe one more time next week. How good do you feel about going into Las Vegas as the points leader?
You know, I'm hoping it's more of the same tonight. It's probably going to be in between this and Homestead, since Homestead was kind of the trend evening to night race, and that's what we got next week. I'm hoping it's kind of middle ground because it's kind of my wheelhouse so far. At least recently it's kind of been. I wouldn't say early on in the season it really was. I was better at the random tracks, I guess, but I've kind of come to my own here. I noticed people were shifting early in the race tonight, and I didn't think it was going to work early, so I stayed away from it for a while, but once we got halfway in a stint, I'd start doing it, or even just past halfway in a stint, really, just whenever we had massive fall off and got to a certain time. And you know, it worked. It was the moment I took the lead from Cameron. I was like, you know what, he's gaining on me on exit, let's try something different. Shifted and never saw them again until cycles and everything. So this Solar Flare Toyota Camry was on rails once we got the opportunity to, once we got passed by the Draft Fest there early in the race, and it showed, thankfully, and hopefully we can bring this car right here to victory lane next week.
Well done, Jake. Another one in the books for you. Congratulations. We'll see you at Las Vegas. Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
And with that, Hunter, wrapping things up tonight, the points are updated, and the driver on the outside looking in is Ryan Hartz, Cameron Hearn, Brad Slaughter Jr., and Nicholas Johnston. So your championship 4 are Jake Nichols, James Scioli, David Weishart, Dominic DeLeo. Those are your 4 drivers going for a championship next week. It is whoever finishes the highest, Hunter, so that's going to be a real fun one to watch.
Yep, it all comes down to Las Vegas, that championship 4. A win would definitely guarantee you the championship, but like we've seen throughout the regular season with 16 races, all that doesn't matter now. Now that you're in the championship 4, all you got to do is finish in front of the other 3 contenders. That championship is yours. You don't have to win. You could win by just finishing in second, as long as the driver who wins the race is not a part of that playoffs. But we'll see what that looks like in Vegas. I cannot wait.
I can't wait either. I'm really, really excited for next week's race. But make sure to watch the rest of the racing here this week. Tomorrow, we've got the CNC Logging Truck Series heading here to Michigan, and then Thursday with the Lodgebox Series. So there's more racing on twitch.tv/area iRacing Hunters. So there's more this week, and from what we saw tonight, I'm expecting good things tomorrow.
Oh yeah, Truck Series. It's going to be like a super speedway race, and that's tomorrow night, 8:40 Eastern on the Area iRacing Twitch channel. Thursday night, we'll be live once again from Michigan for the Lodgebox Series, also 8:40 Eastern on the Area iRacing Twitch channel, which, by the way, just hit 500 followers. So thank you to everyone who's watching, following, and all those that are subscribing as we continue to grow this channel, this league. Can't wait for the rest of the races this week and then championship week next week.
We'll see you next time, next week for the season finale, and tomorrow for the CNC Logging Truck Series. Kyle Heyer and Hunter Sleppy. See you tomorrow.